What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about Eve and sort of some comments that have been um, kind of like misquoted and um, misrepresented in social media, particularly black social media. Eve was in an interview recently with TV1, and they got on the topic of her being in an interracial marriage. And she had said something that they asked her a question, and she said, she doesn't think about their race, like both of their races, like her husband's race or her race when like they're together. But people kind of interpreted that as her saying she doesn't think about race at all, as if she just completely disassociated herself from blackness. Like, she just ran off to Swirltopia and, she got white daddy and, you know, white daddy got her on the no ninja diet. And, you know, Eve was just like, hey, I'm on the no ninja diet now. So I can't think about that race stuff no more. It wasn't like that. All right. She actually said that her and her husband, as well as her husband's kids, definitely have conversations about race. Sometimes the conversations are not easy. That would just be one of the challenges of being in an interracial relationship, perhaps. But nevertheless, they are able to have those conversations. Sometimes they are easy. Sometimes they're just interesting. Sometimes it's just something new. It's something different. It's for her, for Eve, it's a great thing because it does sort of allow the opportunity to learn new things and to grow and things like that. So for Eve, it's not really a big issue. But I think some people were mad. Both black men and black women were mad. One, because they may have been operating off of miscommunication or misinformation. As well, some people just don't like, seeing black women swirl or interracially date and marry and things like that. And also, I feel like people were triggered by that comment because people are so used to black women being like pretty much the like social justice warriors for the black community and being pro-black. And really, the pro-black agenda is very much black male oriented. So I think the black men having issues with it felt like basically Eve was just no longer prioritizing black parentheses men's issues. And some black women who are black male identified felt similar sentiments. And it does show that, kind of like the expectations we have when it comes to black women and, you know, being loyal to the black community and to blackness, and the expectations we have with when it comes to black men and being loyal to blackness in the community. It seems to be sort of an imbalance. I think a lot of people do, for one reason or another, expect black women to very much be basically the black community's ride or die chick, as a collective, right? And Eve seemingly opted out. And I think that kind of, rubs some people the wrong way. Um, but of course, Eve, didn't opt out of blackness. I don't think that's really an option to opt out of blackness. And I feel like black men who interracially date know that or end up knowing that at one point or another. That's why they often come back to the community and come back on some pro-black stuff while being in an interracial relationship, because for one, they're advocating for themselves and then perhaps their collective, right? And they know that they can't really disassociate themselves from blackness totally, perhaps to an extent, but not totally, right? You know, black men who interracially date definitely have to deal with the baggage that comes with blackness. Not to say that black women don't, but especially black men, though. So, a little quick backstory about Eve in regards to her relationship with Maximilian, her husband. So they met in the UK a while ago, and she said, she wasn't really looking to swirl. She wasn't looking to be with a white man, but that's how it ended up. Um, and she said that when she imagined herself being with a man, she imagined herself originally being with a black man, but it didn't work out that way, right? She also mentioned that this is the first relationship, I believe, that she did, that she didn't feel like her boyfriend was competing with her. And that's something that a lot of people didn't touch on. That's something that people ignored because the men that she dated before this relationship were all black. And sometimes I do feel like that is a thing sometimes for some reason. For one reason or another, I think if it don't apply, let it fly. All right. But I think some black men are operating unlike a tokenism mode, or perhaps one, since it's like only so many spaces for black people, and it's like, well, there can only be one black person, male or female, so it's gonna be me. It's gonna be me. I'm gonna be the only chocolate beauty up in here. That's how some of these dudes be acting. And also, Eve, some people bring up that, oh, her husband has 4 kids, 4 white kids. You're a mammy to them. You're their mammy, right? Eve, she comes with a bit of baggage herself. She was the ex-stripper, and I think she has a sex tape out, released by Stevie J. But oddly enough, look where Stevie J at, and look where Eve's at. All right, she was still able to not get bogged down and held down by that baggage, and was able to get into a good situation. Yeah, 4 kids is a lot, but the kids at this point are at a decent age, and I'm pretty sure their mom is the custodial parent, so she doesn't have to be stepmom like on a constant basis. So perhaps it just works, right? And then some people brought up, hey, you know her husband hasn't had a kid with her. Oh, he doesn't want a mixed kid. He doesn't want a brown kid. He doesn't want to be attached to you like that. Oh, he doesn't want you to have access to his money via child support, right? And then some people said, like, well, for one, Eve could just not want kids, but also maybe Eve is having trouble having kids. It's a lot of things to speculate when it comes to that. A lot of speculation about that. And, I think a lot of people, particularly black people, are jumping to assume the worst, or like want to assume the worst, like, ha, he doesn't want to have kids with you. He doesn't want to have your half black kids. Ha, ha, ha. Right? Even though, oddly enough, when these non-black women have kids with black men, oftentimes they do low-key say a little disparaging remarks when it comes to the children having a phenotype that is more in line and reminiscent of their dad's phenotype versus the mom's phenotype, right? But no one wants to touch touch on that when the non-black women speak about that, right? Or even the mixed biracial light-skinned women speak about, say little comments about that. Like, oh, I wish it didn't have this, 4C hair texture. I wish it came out a little more like me, right? You don't really hear folks wanting to have those conversations like that. That just gets swept under the rug, right? But folks are so pro-black and just so down, all that stuff, right? Right. And also, folks brought up kids. Well, you know, being a stepmom to four kids. Well, Mary J. Blige was a stepmom, and Jill Scott was a stepmom, and Sierra was on her way to being a stepmom if she married Future. You know, but I noticed that in those situations, no one really brought that up like that. Like, oh, Jill Scott, you're going to be playing, stepmom to five kids that aren't yours, you know, and you're the breadwinner and you're paying all the bills or most of the bills, right? I didn't hear that from anybody, you know. And I will say, Eve did make a comment that was like, it's like, eh. She said that he, quote unquote, tamed her, right? And I'm like, that's probably not the best choice of words to use, especially in this situation, you know. But um, nevertheless, I think Eve ended up, quote unquote, choosing better, right? We hear this argument being thrown out low key as like just a deflection tactic to actually have to take responsibility, um, you know, for black male behavior. But I do think there is, of course, responsibility when it comes to quote unquote choosing better. I do think that people do have to be responsible and accountable for the choices that they make, right? And again, we hear the argument being thrown out: choose better. Well, if we really want black women to choose better, then in some cases, black men won't be chosen. And I think that it's not really a fear of not being chosen by the black male collective, in that regards, because I think that the black male collective don't really think that black women have the options to actually choose better, right? And, of course, some black women, are very much loud and proud black men only. So, there's that too. Um, but nevertheless, in this situation, this would be Eve choosing better, right? Because if she ended up with black men and had issues and complained about them, then it was like, hey, you need to choose better, right? So for Eve, this was her choosing better. And, on the flip side, you know, I'll talk about, say, Sierra. Sierra ended up choosing better. But notice, Sierra got a lot of flack for trying to, quote unquote, choose better from a lot of black men for some reason. A lot of black men didn't like that. That triggered a lot of conversation for some reason or another when Sierra transitioned from Future and that whatever to Russell Wilson. And I think, folks maybe just expected Sierra to just be a baby mama, just having kids one after the other with different men and not being married. I think maybe they wanted her to be that, and for one reason or another, or just expected her to be that, you know. But so Eve would be an example of choosing better outside of the community, going out and exploring your options, and Sierra would be a example of choosing better within the community, right? And it shows that you can make mistakes and still bounce back and find a good situation, you know, is that, your mistakes won't have to completely, you know, determine your future, and your mistakes you know, won't completely determine, you know, if you have, if the next relationship. So that's good, you know. And you have to be careful about being on the pro-black tip, and as well, I've heard some conversations about hood culture and being weary of that too. And an example of that would be Wendy Williams. You don't want to be so desperate that you end up in a situation like Wendy Williams, right? Where she got with the hood dude, and of course, we know Wendy Williams, she not hood, you know, but she got with the hood dude, perhaps to have, be in like the fast lane, or have some excitement, or, piss off her parents maybe, um, and built him up and got him to where he is, got him earning a good amount of money. And, he is very much in the media shamelessly, just creating a whole new life in the media with his new baby's mama, you know, and Wendy Williams having all these health problems because of it, and wanting to pretend like everything all good in the hood and everything okay, and you know, doing going through all that. Ultimately, thankfully, she just ended up admitting defeat and filing for divorce finally. I guess at some point she just had to throw in the towel, you know. Yeah. But what did she really get out of that relationship besides her son? You know, I guess maybe some good intercourse, but still, she didn't have to go through all that to get some good intercourse, though. I'm just saying. But yeah, notice though, like black people would be clowning Wendy Williams if, especially like if her husband was non-black and she did all that and he was putting her through all that, you know. Same with Beyonce. Her and her marriage with Jay-Z is interesting to say the least, you know. But choosing better means raising your standards, you know. Oddly enough, Beyonce's with like I guess an ex hood dude, whatever, right? Uh, but yeah, but black women do have to choose better, and black men have to be better. You know, we can't want black women to only choose black men or want to be with black men, then not really expect black men to provide something worth choosing. You know, so if you want black women to stay in the community, then you have to offer like an option, a good option. You know, and I'll touch on the black women who seem to have a problem with the black women who date interracially and whatnot. And, I do think that's a bit odd. But I think it comes from more so being like in a black male identified mindset, and, very much wanting to, um, you know, be pro black, right? And quote unquote be fair and balanced as well. And ultimately, the pro black agenda is very much pro black male oriented. And being fair and balanced, unfortunately, it doesn't end up working in black women's favor because people aren't fair and balanced when it comes to black women. So essentially, you're being fair and balanced with people who aren't reciprocating that. So it doesn't work, you know. And as well, I hear a lot of talk about, black women are so unprotected, right? And I do feel like this is a bit of a reach, perhaps, but I do feel like situations like this, where, say, a black woman may attack, say, Eve because she's not with a black man and she's interracially dating, I feel like that low key contributes a little bit to black women not being protected. And, on one hand, these black women will come through and talk about, Breonna Taylor, and be like, us black women, we so unprotected out here. I tell you, no, no one here for us, no one trying to protect us. We struggling out here. And then in the next breath, they'll be like, you know, oh, ha ha ha, look at Megan Thee Stallion getting shot. She was, she started that fight with Tory Lanez. She did something, right? Those same women will go on and say something like that after they're talking about Breonna Taylor, right? And, there's a lot of other examples of that as well, of just, black women contributing to black women being unprotected, right? But I noticed that when these black women particularly are talking about being unprotected, I don't ever hear them, call on or invoke they black kings to come through and protect them. I don't really hear that for some reason. I don't really hear that a lot. And when it does, they do, call on the black kings to come through and, protect them or defend them. It don't really happen. Case in point, Ari Lennox. She was calling on black men to defend her on social media against the slander that she was receiving for her facial features, particularly her nose, and being compared to a Rottweiler. And ultimately, I don't think black men came through loud, proud, and strong for Ari Lennox. But maybe I'm missing something. But one more thing I do want to touch on right quick before I end this video is I do think there is somewhat of a low-key trend of black girls in particular being punished publicly on social media. That is something I've kind of noticed or something I just noticed, I guess, maybe. I mean, I know about the stories, but yeah. It's like, is this like a trend or something? Does this connect to black women or, black females, girls, women not being protected? Because folks, it's like, oh, they're disciplining their black daughter, publicly on social media and live streaming it or uploading a video about it. And like, I don't have a problem with a parent disciplining their child and, perhaps using corporal punishment as long as it's not going overboard, But I do think it's a bit odd that they want to share it. I do think it ends up being more so like humiliating, like, oh, let's, not just punish them, but let's humiliate them as well. Let's, humiliating, humbling, there is a connection between that, you know. And, and then some of the parents who receive criticisms want to get in their feelings. And I'm like, well, we wouldn't know about this if you didn't share it. And you shared it publicly. and you opened yourself up to criticism. So take the criticism. I don't want to really hear about you, what you like, don't like, whatever about that. And as well, um, I don't really see this trend being applied to black boys as much, or maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see this being applied to black boys and disciplining them, at least publicly, and posting it to social media. And if a black woman did do that, or if a black woman did that, then it'll be criticism. If a black man did it to a black boy, then I think they'll be more accepting of it. But if it was a black woman doing it to her black son, oh, she emasculating him. Look what black women do to their sons, right? Um, It was actually an example of that in the media a while ago, where that mom who chased down her son and was hitting her son because he was in a protest, or he was rioting or something like that. And she was being paraded around the, mainstream media as being Black Mama of the Year for doing that too. And, I'm not acting like there's no, agenda in place to kind of emasculate black men or things like that. But if a black mom did it to her black son, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Right. But, the black dad can do it to the black daughter, though. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. It's like black moms and black daughters, cool. You know, Black dads and black daughters, cool. Black dads and black sons, okay. Black moms and black sons, no, we can't do that. Right? Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. You don't be disrespecting that black cane like that. You don't emasculate that black cane like that. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. I don't want to go on for too long. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.